Hello, everyone. Welcome to my first presentation of my seven-part series on cryptocurrency. Please bear in mind that these sessions will be bilingual for the sake of our fellow common sisters and brothers. And before we even get into my presentation, let me just take us on a trip down memory lane about economics. It's like there is a debate about money. It's like this is all about money, right? It's currency, and the fact that currency is a store there. There's a debate that money is always neutral when it comes to economics, right? In economics, there's two domains. There's micro or macro, right? Micro meaning like it deals with all the individual private businesses, all these nitty-gritty things, and macro as a whole combined. But in effect, in macroeconomics, there is monetary and physical. And this is when the real deal comes along. Because like with monetary policy, it deals with interest rates, right? Supply of money, circulation of money, which is given to the central banks, right? That means like they have an effect of money, right? And then physical policy deals with taxation and how governments spend the money that has been given to them by the taxpayers, right? And at the end of the day, it's all relative to each other. And what is the common denominator among all these things? Money, right? Money is the common denominator. Like at the end of the day, like that's what this is all about. Right? All this is all about the money that's accumulated by people that pay taxes. So, with that being said, let me let me start my presentation. Okay, an introduction to cryptocurrency investment. Right? Why cryptocurrency? Well, like my quest on cryptocurrency came along from way back in 2008 when the financial crisis, after the financial crisis, really. But not after some time that I got to read about all these other things, great white papers about Bitcoin, Ethereum. But then it was always about social status in a lot of sense, right? It's like common sense, and I'm gonna start talking about it. Like you have a social status, there's built up on a pyramid, and the wealth of the country is basically owned by the, I would say, by the top 1%. My my father passed away in 2016, and I watched him online. I was still in Fiji. I watched him breathing until the day that he stopped breathing. It got me thinking, because like during the days when my father was still a civil servant, he was a civil servant by the way, like he was still doing work for government. It got me thinking because like when he was breathing through those tubes, I was thinking like, what if? But like my father was the first uh, accountant general for the government. And then he became Secretary of Finance once. And then I finally realized that like if if he was still a government official at the time of his death, he would have been he would have been thrown away on a plane like the rest of the people on top of the pyramid. Right? Because like that's what happens. We as people on a social status, on a grassroots level, middle class, we work, we pay the taxes. We are born people with what I say like with all the rights to these the trips overseas and who's gonna be sent on a medical trip when they're sick and who's not, right? So they got me thinking a lot because, like, if the system is not working for me, if the system is not working for my father, what's going to happen to my children? Because at the end of the day, they're not going to get on the plane if they got sick or if I got sick. Only the people up top, if you're a parliamentarian or if you're a member of the royal family or if you're a member of the noble realm, that's how it goes. So you got me thinking. So from 2016 to 2018, 2020, I got there's got to be a better system. There's got to be somehow, somewhere where I can take ownership of my own financial freedom. So if I get sick, or any of my children get sick, I have a way of financing them. Who got me here? Right. All right. Having said that, make a long story short, the main idea is to give some sort of avenue or another way out outside that box, whereby there's a pyramid of social status that only a few people on top gets to get that special treatment, and the rest pays for it. So when it comes down to your own dues, you gotta stay back in the same old hospital and die, right? I won't do that. So that's why I want to use concept. So you gotta find out. Right? So I want to take us through a little bit of history of money. Right, way back then. The point of this exercise is for you to understand that money that you see now is all made up. There's no there is no special thing to say, oh, you cannot touch this kind of money because like it's just been there forever now. Any kind of medium of exchange that you have now, any kind of currency is all made up, right? It all came back from barter system, exchanging gold for cow or whatever. And then it came from there up to 600 BCE, we have the coinage. So the idea is this: there is money or currency is a store of value. That's it, right? And it's made up. And the only important thing about it that you and I agree to exchange certain things based upon that store of value. And up to now, like fiat currency didn't come along until the 1970s, right? Which was backed or supported by gold. But then nowadays, it's more backed by faith. And this is when we go to cryptography and the difference between cryptographic truth and false promises. Because like we have faith in governments, remember, monetary, fiscal policies and all these things, because like they drive or how much money they want to print. And slowly throughout this presentation, we're gonna find out, oh, so this is the real deal, right? This is how currency is supposed to be working. Currency is supposed to be working through who? For people who base the taxes. Yeah, but we'll find out. And then like comes Bitcoin off. But that's a little bit history of money. What the point I wanted to take from here is like money, currency is all made up. What's important, like that you and I agree on how we exchange certain things based on what we use as our medium of exchange. That's what money is about. And this is the evolution of money, right? We start off with bartering, then we have gold, silver, and whatever. Then we have metal coins, comes paper money, then comes credit cards, then comes a mobile phone, PayPal, and all this. Right? And then I think this is the final evolution between my lifetime. It's cryptocurrency, and this is what I'm trying to provide awareness to build capacity on. It's like this is now and the future, right? So, in terms of context, what I've been talking about is what is the technology that drives cryptocurrency, right? Is cryptocurrency divisible, or does it have denominations, right? What supply cryptocurrency, right? Is it unlimited or limited, right? Is it anonymous? Can anybody find out if I'm dealing with cryptocurrency or not? What is the worldwide adoption of cryptocurrency? The volatility of cryptocurrency, how it spikes up and goes down in value, and how you diversify using cryptocurrency. So at the end of the day, we'll talk a bit more deeply when we go further throughout the presentation. What costs and what drives the price of cryptocurrency, all the use cases, what do you use cryptocurrencies for, what are all types of cryptocurrency, and how do you safeguard your investment in cryptocurrency, how do you store your cryptocurrency, right? Okay, what are the properties of what is a distributed ledger technology? This is like, in a nutshell, this is the infrastructure of the technology that drives cryptocurrency. So cryptocurrency is an application on top of this infrastructure or this technology, right? This technology is programmable, meaning that you can have few lines of code as a smart contract, deal with whatever you want to do in this technology, right? It's secure, right? It's encrypted, meaning it's mathematically proven to be mathematically accepted, not by word of mouth or by paper promises, by encryption and cryptography. It's anonymous, right? Our identities in this space is not known. Nobody cares about it. All they care about is mathematics. It's unanimous, meaning that it's democratic in a lot of sense that like anyone in this space and this network have a say in the decision-making process, right? It's timestamped, meaning that every transaction happens in this space is stamped, time-stamped. It's mutable, meaning that anything that is validated on these blocks, on these records, cannot be changed, right? Which means which avoids double spending and all these things that we use other means, paper promises and false promises. And it's distributed. And this is something that I love most. It's totally transparent, meaning that everyone in this network of participants have a copy of the ledger, meaning that no one can call anyone because, like, if I have $5 in my pocket, everyone in this network knows that I only have $5, right? So I cannot try and call them, oh, I'm going to pay you $10 for something because everybody knows I only have $5. So that's how transparent it is. And nobody can muck around. So that's the technology that drives cryptocurrency. Not only that, so how does a transaction in this space get into a blockchain, right? So, a blockchain is like, it's just a network or a data structure. The only difference is for the normal everyday database is like, it's not centralized. But they're like, the transaction is like authenticated, meaning like with cryptography, the keys need to agree. You have a private key or public key, but somehow these keys need to agree before a transaction is authenticated. Once it's authenticated, it became represented as transaction to be created, right? And then it's pushed into the block, which just becomes a node in the network, right? Which is a peer-to-peer network. Remember, it's not centralized. Once that is done, then everyone in the network or the community validates the transaction, right? Or we put that to a certain amount of nodes to do the validation, right? In this space, there's several ways of doing what we call consensus algorithms and how we agree with certain things. Whereby on this example, we have like proof of work. There's also proof of stake, proof of agreement, proof of history, and proof of there's so forth. So there's Byzantine fault tolerant algorithms, all these things. But this is just an example. So once we agree to this, that this transaction is validated, it becomes part of the block, right? And that's when you see why we call it a blockchain. It's a block chain of blocks or a blocks which has a pointer to the previous, right? So every transaction is known to the original book, right? And then we have the updated distributed network, and then we say that transaction is complete. So that's how this ecosystem works, right? It's totally democratic, it's totally transparent, it's totally accountable, it's immutable. Nobody can screw around with it because like everybody knows what's going on, right? Which more or less like it's more applicable in our way of life. It's like we don't want anybody to be calling anybody. No more scams, no more program, right? No more false promises. Everything is cryptographically proved. So how divisible is it? How I mean, can I invest like in Bitcoin, but I can't afford it, right? Now are they smaller denominations? So yes, you can. So like for now, there are two that I'm showing you as an example, right? The Ethereum ERC stands for Ethereum Request for Comments, right? 20, which is the fungible, means me like the normal token cryptocurrency that we currently see. Uniform like it's more like it's constant, it's consistent. It can be changed from one currency, from one cryptocurrency to the other, and it's divisible, right? You can have smaller denominations of it, right? Apart from that, that's more like a non-fungible. Whereby you have like you have today, right? NFTs, right? That you have like this is great for for this is great for art and musicians and people who provide certain things that you don't need to be entertained with. Because like it's non-divisible, right? And this is what I love about this space. Because like there are certain avenues that you can accommodate what we need today. Musicians and artists. So many people copy their work. So many people use their music without having to contribute to the effort to their environment, right? So that's what the visibility is all about. But down the line, we'll explain this more. And there are other tokens coming up for ERC, right? That's how the technology evolves. All right, the supply. To compare with fiat currency, okay? One of the strengths, like I mentioned before, when I mentioned before, like macro and microeconomics, fiscal policy and monetary policy, right? Monetary policy, you print money for certain reasons, and sometimes it increases inflation. In cryptocurrency, there is a limited supply of money, meaning you cannot print more, right? And these are the two differences. Cryptocurrency is generated based on cryptographic truth, with cryptography is generated by a computer system. It's totally decentralized, meaning that nobody controls it, apart from the whole ecosystem of peers or everybody involved in the network. It's a digital medium of exchange. It's a limited amount of supply, which is compared to fiat currency, which is what we use today, is like usually by government, based on our faith that our government will provide what's best for us, right? Which in most cases we have known and found out governments at times make mistakes, and who got screwed? Fixed it. All right, and we know for sure governments can print as much money as they want, which at the end of the day is not quite understand. It's not the best way to do something. You can't keep printing. So, how worldwide is it in the government? Well, on the map you can see it's. I would say I'm glad to be in Australia. And you can see like in China, it's totally banned. Some places in Africa, certain places are neutral, but it's regulated in a lot of countries. Which means if you are into this space, I feel satisfied that I can do certain things because like it's accepted as a mean of regulatory currency. Limit. What's private to us is like we don't want people to see what we do. Right? but people know who you are. Anonymity in this space means like nobody knows who you are. You're just a number. But it's totally transparent, meaning like you cannot hide any transaction you do. It's good for the whole world, right? You cannot corrupt a system whereby everyone knows what's going on in the system compared to private, right? Private, like nobody knows what you do, but they know you are, but they don't know what you do behind the scenes, right? Or behind the curtain. So that's the difference. So in this space, you're totally anonymous, but your transaction are everybody knows what's going on with it. But it's quite volatile. You can see you get spike up and spike down, all the way down and up, up, up. So, that's the risk you have to take because, like, that's why this exercise is important. Because you need to understand how to do your homework to figure out how these things go about. And this is the approach. I used to be a chess player when I was still in high school, and still the same approach. It's about knowing several steps before the step even happens. So that's the thing. If you want to be in this space, you have to do your homework. You got to watch the trends. You got to know 5 steps ahead before it even happens, right? So you can find out when it's going to go, when it's going out, and also, which goes to the next slide, whereby you know what can help you if the market goes down, right? So that's what it leads us to diversification. Right? Diversification means like you don't put all your eggs in one basket. In this space, there are a whole lot of tokens and different types of tokens, different types of assets. And the beauty of it, they're also like something called stable coins. So what you do is like you figure out the market and you try to figure out, remember how you play chess. You figure out how the trend is going to go the next 5 to 6 months, howsoever. And you don't put everything as an investment in one basket, but you spread it out. So when that main cryptocurrency goes down, your other stable coins hold the value of your investment. That's the meaning of the currency. You don't put all your eggs in one basket. But this is like, as we go along, you're going to learn how to do this. So, and remember, you have to give it some time to know how it works. So, what are the costs? Cost factor, it can be very high cost, right? And you can see, you saw the graph of how Bitcoin is going up. You can't even afford to buy one Bitcoin, but you can buy some 5s of a Bitcoin. That's the visibility of cryptocurrency. It's not such a bad thing, really. Until you build up enough capital to own one Bitcoin. But then like anything. These are the factors that affect the price of Bitcoin. Like you have a supply, but you know it's limited. There's also demand. There's also cost of production with mining, but don't get it. Like Bitcoin does mining. There are other cryptocurrencies that doesn't do mining. They do proof of stake, proof of authority, and all that, right? And also like there's media coverage. There's most importantly there's regulation. Like you saw the map that I showed. The adoption, very important is the regulations. Like I know some islands in the Pacific they don't allow, they don't still have no regulation how you're gonna invest in cryptocurrency, but it's something in the future. Or it's not even like you can just fly away somewhere else and do it there, then go back. You know, there's nobody stopping that. It's not against the law. And also the number of competitors. But this is more like an ecosystem that drives cost, right? There's always supply and demand. Not everybody knows about economics. There's always cost of production. There's media coverage, of course, regulations play a major role in it, and of course your competitors. So what are the use cases? And, record keeping, digital currency, reducing fraud. As I saw before, it's totally transparent. Nobody can screw up the system. Smart contracts. No more paper promises. Everything is written up in the computer code and put in the system. And of course, securities, right? Equity, markets, debt, crowdfunding, derivatives, etc. So you can see the ecosystem has got so wild, and it's for you I'm like, as you go further in this technology stack, you find out there are other things you can do. So what are the types, right? All right, there's the Moneros, like first was always Bitcoin, and Bitcoin was, right? And then Ethereum, and then everybody else comes out. But then I was like, you have the stable coins, like I said before, with diversification, you always hold a stable coin. It's more like the leverage for your business, right? So when everything else goes down, your stable coin goes down. The CBDCs, right? Some people have their own private coins. Some governments now have come up their own government tokens, utility tokens, and the NFTs, not the non-functional tokens, right? All in all, this is the ecosystem, and this is the type of crypto asset. But it's all right, come on. The evolution and the innovation is still going, and there might be others as well. So how do you store these? How do you store your cryptocurrency? So you can either have a hard wallet or hardware wallet, you can have an online wallet, software wallet, or paper wallet. Right? But there are also security issues with it, and you have to be very careful with it because if you lose your keys, you lose your wallet, just like everything else, you have to look after yourself, right? It's common sense. You know. Even though, like, because like now, when things are centralized, the banks hold your security. All you care about is your PIN numbers and stuff. Remember, with this technology now, you are your own brother's keeper. You look after yourself. Right? You have your freedom, and it's totally decentralized, distributed, but you have to do that. I mean, even now, like some people have their benches now, so they build Fort Knoxes for people to hold their cryptocurrencies. Another way of doing things, right? But you have to, like, if when I take a tip from you from this stuff, you have to be extra careful with how you deal with your storage. Serious stuff. So, we'll put this is the last slide. So, I'm like, should I invest? That's a question for you guys. Right? This is just a starting point of the journey. Whether you see, like, is this a future investment avenue that is right for you, or the risk too high? It's totally up to you. You gotta remember though, what I just explained, I've just only scratched the surface, right? You got to do your homework on this, right? And if you decide to invest in crypto, you have to do research and find out like which particular digital assets you want to be investing in, how volatile is it, you got to risk it, right? However, if you feel that you're confident enough and you feel like, oh, I want to take a leap, what's important about this is this. This is a calculated risk that you have to make. And you have to give it time. There's no free money in this world. You have to come into it and you have to do your work. A lot of people have made mistakes on a lot of things, right? Scams, Bondi schemes, and pyramid schemes, and the MLMs, all this stuff. It's like somebody lied to you, so like, okay, give me $1,000 and you're gonna get 2,000 back, right? If somebody tells you that kind of bullshit, that's a lie, right? You know, if it's like too good to be true, it's bullshit. In this space, you can't. This is no quick money scheme here. You have to put in the hard yards to figure out how it works. You gotta learn all the trends, and you gotta have patience. Like to invest in crypto is not like a 1 year or 2 years. You gotta think 5, 10 more. And that's how it works. Don't just say, "Oh, I'm gonna invest in crypto and I'm gonna get rich in 2 years." Hell no. And if you feel like you're comfortable enough to put in the hard yards, to learn the ropes, and make a portfolio in this ecosystem, in this space, then you can message me and I'll come back to you one-on-one and see how you can build a portfolio and build cryptocurrency. All right, cool. Follow me, message me. All right, ciao.